This video is dedicated to something I made recently from the Disney Parks Cookbook from the Animal Kingdom area. It's inspired, and it's called Naan Bread with Cucumber Raita, or Riata, sorry if I'm pronouncing that right. There is a little bit of a picture here. So this is naan. I think it's funny they call it naan bread because I think naan just means bread, so it's kind of being redundant there, like bread with cucumber riata. Anyway, I love naan. I think it's great. This is my first attempt at ever making it. So here's some clips of me doing it. So this is the cucumber riata. I thought I hit record and apparently I didn't. I'm so sorry. But anyway, let us tell you what's in this real quick. So there is some Greek yogurt. There is some cucumber, like I took a seedless cucumber and I cut the peels off as well and diced it into small pieces. I diced into small pieces a small jalapeno pepper, some cumin seeds, which I toasted and then I ground them up in here. Then I added some coarse salt and some cayenne pepper and I mixed it all together. I'm going to put this in the fridge and let it chill for a couple hours before we eat the naan. Now it's time to make the naan. Now first I have my KitchenAid mixer and it actually says to attach it with the paddle handler, which I have there. And I'm adding the flour in, and this is just regular all-purpose flour. There's nothing special about it. I just put in a tablespoon of sugar that it calls for. I'm getting ready to actually add a couple other ingredients. One of them is salt, and it says to use a coarse salt, which I did, and then I'm also adding a little bit of baking soda. Next, I have a bowl here, and I'm putting some wet ingredients together that I'm going to add into the mixture with the flour. So the first thing I just added to my bowl was some milk, and I'm going to add some warm water with that, and actually a little bit of canola oil and mix it together. So I have the paddle hook going, and as it do that, I'm pouring the wet mixture in with the dough. And it says to just do this until it comes together. And once it does that, to turn it off, switch to the dough hook, and mix it until the dough is smooth and no longer sticky. And it warns you about over mixing. And here's just a quick clip of me switching over to the dough hook. I did end up mixing the dough a little bit by hand just to smooth it out, but here it is. I put it back in the bowl, and I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap and let it sit for an hour. Here it is after an hour, and meanwhile, I have my oven here, and I have a pizza stone in my oven that has been sitting in a preheated oven at 500 degrees for 30 minutes. Okay, it's time to roll the dough out. It said to divide it into 5 even pieces, so I actually used a scale to help make sure that my dough was pretty consistent in size. And I'm to roll it out into an 8-inch circle with that. So I'm kind of using a combination of my hands here to start and see if I can get this kind of rolled out a little bit. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that ruling things out sometimes is not always my strong suit. So anyway, I did get the ruling pin out to try and help kind of get these. They're supposed to be circular, but I'm not worried about perfection on this, just to try to get them a little bit thinner. And here's an example of one that I'm getting ready to start baking them. So the tricky part is baking them, and I apologize I couldn't really get a good angle on the video, so you're seeing me from above here. So basically, I turn the oven to broil. I have a oven mitt on my one hand. I'm putting a slice of naan on the pizza stone, and I need to watch it until the bread is bubbled and golden brown, which takes about 3 minutes. And I'm taking it out, and what you can't see off to the side is actually my husband helping me. He is there taking the bread, and then I have some melted butter, and he's using a pastry brush to cover the naan with the melted butter. Here it is done with the cucumber stuff ready to eat. So there you have it. And it was so difficult to get some good video clips of it because there was so much happening and I had to really focus. I didn't want to burn myself. I had a high temperature oven at 500 degrees with a broiler on, trying to really cook this bread. I did notice when I took it out, I think it was just a little thick. I was looking, I was like, that doesn't seem quite cooked. So I ended up putting it back in and just like doing the other side. So kind of like flipping it and giving it a few minutes from each side. I think that's, again, me. If you've watched any of my videos in the past, you know I sometimes struggle to really get dough thin. I think that's just me. I need to work on it, and I need to be a little bit more patient, especially when it comes to those kind of things. But taste-wise, it wasn't bad. It turned out pretty good, especially for my first attempt at that kind of bread. The dip with it was nice. It was light, it was refreshing. It was really good. It was nothing that really wowed me, but it was tasty. Like, it worked well with the naan, but yeah, it didn't like overwhelm me or anything like that. So let's get into the rankings. The first, I rank the ingredients on a scale of 1 to 5, and that's a combination of like how hard are they to find and cost. And this is honestly like a 1.5, I think. Most of the stuff you have in your cupboard, it's basic staples, you know what I mean? Nothing that costs really much, so it's really easy to like find out what you need and not spend a lot of money. Difficulty level on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is easy and 5 is hard. So I'm gonna give this like a 3.5, maybe a 4. I mean, it wasn't as hard as I thought it could be, but it's definitely careful. I mean, first you have the dough, which wasn't super bad with the bread, but then rolling it out, obviously, I didn't get it super thin, and then cooking it, I had to be very careful on that stone of, really making sure that I had it at a good temperature and I was pulling it out. I had a pot holder, like handle thing on, like the glove ones, the entire time. I had my husband there helping me catch the bread, and then he was buttering it with the melted butter when it was done. So it was a few steps involved with that carefully. So I guess it's probably more of a 4, just because you got to be a little careful with it. And then would I make this again on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 is never, and 5 is absolutely. So I'm a little mixed on it. I mean, I love naan. It wasn't as good as I was hoping, but I mean, I'm used to having it at like Indian restaurants where they've probably been making it for like 30 years, or their entire lives. So, but I was pleased with it. So I'm going to give it like a 3.5. So I'm slightly above neutral, like leaning towards, I think I'm going to make it again someday, or at least attempt it. I might experiment with some other naan recipes. I will say, though, I don't think I'll make the cucumber raita again. Again, it wasn't bad. It just didn't overwhelm me that I was like, I have to make this again. It was just kind of like, it's fine, but nothing that like is jumping out at me that I absolutely have to have it again.